Oh my god, it's finally here, everyone. The absolutely jubilant cries of sweaty neckbeards across the world who've worshipped the altar of Games Workshop for so long could be heard quite clearly if you stepped outside a few weeks ago. Space Marine 2 is finally out, everyone. And please, Warhammer fans, don't get upset about what I just said. You all know that everything that just came out of my mouth is absolutely true. You goddamn heathens. No hate. Just spitting the facts. Now, were those cries justified, everyone? It's time for us to talk about just that. Focus Entertainment has at long last released its sequel to the 2011 cult hit Space Marine 1. Space Marine 2 is a direct sequel to the first game, following the exploits of returned protagonist Demetrian Titus. Once again, our hero is back to kick Xenos' ass and fight the forces of chaos through a campaign full of non-stop action and intrigue. Very, very, very congruent to everything else that happens in Warhammer as a universe. As we begin the game, we find ourselves starting as a mystery figure who is part of the Black Watch, a special organization of space marines that finds their bread and butter in beating back the alien foes of humanity. After a pretty involved and interesting preamble/tutorial to the main campaign, we find out that our mystery figure is in fact our boy Titus, and that this is what he's been doing since the first game after one of his boys decided to turn heel and tattle on him to the Inquisition, basically the real-world equivalent of the German Gestapo or the Russian KGB. From there, you're brought back into the Space Marine fold, and off you go to save other people's asses and bring pain to anything that hasn't evolved from apes or happens to not follow the right god. Now, are we talking spoilers? Oh, no, my friends. Even if you aren't aware of 40k lore, this is just how things happen in the universe, and this is absolutely par for the course. We won't be getting into the story here, as I don't want to spoil it for folks, but it does follow the typical Warhammer story formula. Long story short, we get introduced to the hero, we know what they're going to be doing, we know that they have an antagonist that they're going after, only to probably find out there's another antagonist behind them, and that is really going to hit the fan with whatever they have to deal with. So, most importantly, is it fun? Developer Saber Interactive has in fact made a game that is an absolute blast to play. Combat feels great in smashing your enemies with swords, fists, knives, or whatever you can get your mitts on in conjunction with blowing their heads off with one of Warhammer's many recognizable firearms is more than a pleasure. Combat flows seamlessly from range to hand and back again with the way Saber has constructed the game. You'll be blowing off heads with a bolter one moment, then immediately turning around and eviscerating an enemy with one of the universe's iconic chainswords. Speaking of chainswords, the sound design in this game is metal as f***. Hearing the revving of that said weapon as you tear into an enemy is one of the most satisfying things to hit your ear holes that I can imagine. It really does sound like you think it would. Firing off any of the weapons will also have a satisfying weight to it. And the bolter has to be the highlight here, as you are firing a weapon that essentially rains death on enemies with micro rockets. Just think, you're firing a gun, and every time you do, it's a little mini explosion flying towards the head of your enemy, just waiting to blow it clean off their damn shoulders. It is absolutely readily apparent that that's what they're doing when you hear the first round leave the chamber. Enough talk of aesthetics. Let's go ahead and talk about the gameplay. It does feel good, as I mentioned, and I do believe that most of you are going to enjoy yourselves if mindless action is your cup of tea. Imagine Gears of War levels of gameplay, except in Warhammer, you aren't a and you never take cover. That kind of action would be what the kids who love Warhammer call heresy. Space Marines never back down, no hiding, toe-to-toe action all the time, mano-a-mano until someone drops dead. Real quick disclaimer, the campaign of this game is not the star of the show. Now that we've addressed it in the gameplay, we need to talk about the real draw of Space Marine 2, and that would be the multiplayer. I'd be lying to you if I told you that the campaign wasn't without its flaws. If you aren't a Warhammer lore aficionado, you're probably going to find it somewhat repetitive and boring. You may even find it somewhat disinteresting. I would disagree with that, as I have just recently converted to the Warhammer lore cult, and I actually find it all very fascinating, but if you don't really know anything going in, you might be a little bit lost. Now, the bright side is you can actually tackle the campaign with your friends if you so choose, and with full crossplay capability, it doesn't matter what platform you and your friends are on, you will be kicking the shit out of everything you come across with each other, no matter what you're playing on. Tyranids or Chaos, either way, they are all going to fall to you and the homies as you roll out and just start blowing everybody to bits. The bright side here is the developers have allowed you to connect via a game code that is easily accessible and shared, and then you're off to the races, guys. When you're multiplaying, if you're not doing the campaign, you can do PvP or PvE matches in short order. Player versus player finds you on a team of Loyalist or Chaos Marines duking it out for supremacy on, at the time of this review, a whole shit, only 3 maps. That's not terribly amazing. Nice job, you goddamn amateurs. Not really doing a good job on that one. More on that here in a few, though, everyone. PvE will find you and your 2 friends taking on the roles of a squad that is doing the off-camera work of the campaign in 6 different scenarios currently. What this means is that during certain parts of the game, Titus is doing one thing for a mission, and this crew of 3 Space Marines is doing something else that you don't get to see. Well, now you do with the PvE multiplayer. Pretty cool, in my opinion. Much the same as the PvP, you and your 2 homies or the 2 randos you're going to get mashed with if you decide to do the quick play option will be selecting one of 6 unique classes to bash your way through your enemies and achieve whatever goal you've been tasked with while Titus is doing the main story stuff. Now, if you are one of those PvE enjoyers, you should absolutely join the Discord, or you should come and check out my Twitch channel at some point in time. We have an awesome community who's been playing the hell out of this game, and everyone is willing to take on the PvE with one another, and we all try to actually work together. We're trying to get out there, make progress, and do it right, and have a damn good time. So if you're looking for people to play with that you can trust, absolutely hit the Discord. I'm sure you're going to have an absolutely amazing time. Customization of each of these classes is also something you'll be dealing with. From individual perks to what you bring to the squad as a whole, weapon loadouts will also be a focus of how to best optimize each one of these classes to your preferred playstyle. Upgrading said weapons to new versions and coupling them with a weapon perk will also be on the menu of how do I want to whoop ass this time around. Now, cosmetically, if you're looking to like really spice up your gameplay with, your own preferred look, the game doesn't really offer anything in the single player mode, but it really knocks it out of the park in multiplayer. You'll have a whole host of new armor pieces that you can unlock just by playing the game, and color options for said armor by buying them with the in-game currency you earn through running missions. It's very much worth noting here that it feels like the devs loaded the bulk of playtime expectations with the PvE or PvP multiplayer. Now, in fairness, it is a bit grindy earning what you need for unlocks. The perks I mentioned for classes and weapons must also be bought with the in-game currency, so deciding if you want the cool new ability or the cool new color or armor piece may lead more than a few people to the pit of what the hell should I buy now, because analysis paralysis. You might want a few different things and you're never really quite sure which one you absolutely really want. Now, a really quick reminder as well, everybody, fashion is king in Warhammer if you've ever seen anyone who paints the miniatures. Much like Dark Souls. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Everyone is all about the pomp and circumstance in this goddamn game. Now, fortunately, even if it is pretty grindy and you're gonna have to play these same 6 missions quite a bit, the gameplay loop does feel fun enough to warrant spending a lot of time working towards what you want. Like the campaign, the PvE missions have 4 different difficulties that'll earn you more of this meta currency as you make progress. Not to mention, you will also need to take the higher difficulties for the higher unlocks of weapons if you want to use them. So let's wrap this up. Is Space Marine 2 worth the price tag of 60 American doll hairs? That's right, I said doll hairs. I do not know what to tell you. If you enjoy blowing the shit out of everything with your friends and unlocking cool new ways to do it, while also refining how good you look doing it, then this one is probably going to be for you. I also think it's worth mentioning that the devs have a really nice roadmap planned out for the future of this game. So if you are really, really digging on it, you can definitely expect a lot more stuff coming down the pipe. As of right now, you can expect more PvE missions, thankfully more PvP maps. I told you we were going to get back to that one, everybody. I wasn't going to leave you hanging. There's also going to be a new difficulty option that's going to be released, new weapons and enemies. Evidently, they have more player versus environment prestige ranks for the classes, so I only imagine that they're going to probably throw in things that are going to allow your character to improve, like how much damage they do or how fast cooldowns come back for like their certain abilities. And there's also going to be a wave-based horde mode introduced, which is similar again to Gears of War. If any of you ever played the Gears of War titles, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And honestly, for me personally, I think that a horde mode in this game is going to be an absolute blast, especially if they keep introducing new enemies and they keep making the improvements that they have laid out on this roadmap. There are also going to be season passes for each of these free updates that will unlock more cosmetics if you want to drop some more dough. So it's not necessarily a case of you have to pay the money for any of this stuff, but if you so choose to want to have all of these new options for making your Space Marine look like what you want it to look like, you can cough up some coin. But everything or all the major content that they have planned will be free to you if you decide to want to keep playing the game. And there you have it, YouTube. That is the old man's review of Space Marine 2, a game that is absolutely worth the money if you enjoy kicking the shit out of things with your friends. Now, again, if you're going for nothing but single player, I don't really think it's going to be for you. However, I will put a caveat on that. I wouldn't be surprised if they continue the single-player campaign story with a future DLC as well, as you see these other DLCs come out for the multiplayer experience. I know that they still have a lot of story to tell with this particular character in this universe because that's just what they do. And honestly, if we're going to have a really frank talk about it, if they don't add a little bit more, I can see the Warhammer fandom absolutely lose their shit, because if everything that I have seen on the internet so far is true, pretty much damn near every Warhammer player or enthusiast that I have seen, YouTubers, lore YouTubers, people who play the tabletop, they absolutely love this one. And as someone, again, who just is a enjoyer of the lore, I think it's pretty good too. So I would be shocked if they didn't put something else out for this game, so far as we're talking with the single player experience. So what did you all think about Space Marine 2 if you've already played it? If you have, let me know in the comments what you feel about it, what you feel about the single player, what you feel about the multiplayer, or if you just have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. I'm having a ball playing this one when I am with my friends or when I'm with my community on Discord, and I feel like it has a really bright future. It feels like a game that has a lot of legs and could be a lot more enjoyable, and again, have a lot of replayability as long as they keep deciding to add all of this free DLC. That's it for me, guys. A huge shout out to my Patreons, a huge shout out to the people who support me on Ko-fi, and a huge shout out to my channel members here on YouTube. I can't do this without all you coming in and watching the videos, hanging out, throwing those likes, throwing those subscribes. If you haven't done already, make sure you hit the real subscribe button as well. Hit that notification so you know whenever I come out with a video or when I go live. I'm not only streaming on Twitch, but I am streaming on YouTube now, and you may just catch me playing some Space Marine sometime right here on YouTube. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and again, I can't wait to hear from you soon. I love having discussions about these kind of things, and I can't wait to make another video here in the near future. Expect some more game reviews ASAP, guys. Hope you're having a lovely day, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.